You're listening to the Number Crunchers podcast with your hosts, Harry Beach and Yvette Code. Listen to each episode as we deep dive into the latest tax and bookkeeping trends, cover what is happening within the Shoebox franchise, and talk to inspiring guests and business leaders who share their own stories and business tips. Let's get started. All right, welcome everyone to another episode of the Number Crunchers podcast. My name's Harry, I'm your host. I'm here with
Yvette, hello. Hi, everyone.
Usually I introduce Yvette, but I was like, nah, you can do it now.
Yeah.
Obviously, Number Crunchers podcast, a few episodes down, which is really great. This episode, we're going to talk about business marketing, basic business marketing for small to medium-sized businesses, and Yvette's going to go through some relationship building tools and sort of tips and hacks for, client retention and, trying to keep your clients and not have them leave. So I guess with my job at Shoebox, being the marketing manager, my job is to, when we get a new franchise owner on, obviously I set up everything for them. I'm pretty much going to go through some of that stuff now, and hopefully it can be of help to any of the first-time business owners out there as well.
Yeah, I think it's important for, especially for businesses that are starting out. They can't actually afford someone like you, Harry, that's a marketing manager.
Yeah, totally agree. And obviously when you're starting a business, funds are low, and we've mentioned it in another podcast where business owners have to wear, all the hats, and obviously there's some hats that you aren't good at or you don't know how to do. So hopefully we can help out a little bit here.
And I do find everyone struggles in marketing. It is a unknown thing for most people.
Yeah, it's weird because I think people know kind of roughly what to do, but then it's how to do it and where to go to start some things is a bit of a hard one. So so we'll start off with like basic marketing and basic, pretty much basic advertising tools for small businesses. I would say the first thing you pretty much need to do once the business is set up and you want to get into marketing is a Google My Business listing. With that, obviously, with Google My Business, if you type, just go to Google, type in a restaurant or a cafe, and you'll see it pop up on the right-hand side. It's where you can see the hours and the reviews and things like that. So setting up that is a really good thing. I
look at those reviews, by the way,
before
I do anything. It's really important.
Everyone does. And we'll get to that soon, but pretty much, Google reviews can kind of low-key make you or break you.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
So setting up a Google profile is probably the number one thing I would do, because Google is the biggest search engine platform in the world, and it's got such a high, profile in terms of marketing and how people find businesses now. That's one of the first things I would do.
And also, especially if you don't even have an office space, if you're starting up a business that you're actually working from home, you definitely need it then, so people know where you are.
Exactly. With Google,
and
who you are. Yeah. With Google, you can pin an address if you are a store or a restaurant or something like that. But obviously, if you are a work from home business, or if you a service business and you're mobile, obviously you can't put a pin, but you can put in the services, the territories or the locations that you service. So whether that be all of Australia or just Gold Coast or Brisbane or something like that. So it is super useful. And I guess on top of that, which goes kind of hand in hand, is a website, a decent website.
Do you think you have to spend a lot of money on a website if someone's just starting out, Harry?
I would say it depends, but doing a decent website is doable for little to no budget. There's a whole bunch of different website builders out there, platforms and tools that you can use as a first-time business owner if you don't have a lot of pocket change for that. But investing in a website at some point is definitely 100% where I'll put money towards, because even prior to Google, to be honest, a website, because obviously if you have a Google listing, that listing needs to go somewhere. Right. And that's where the website comes in hand. So
that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. So a website is definitely top two, I would say, with Google. And sort of the key sort of tips I would say for a website is don't overcrowd it and don't make it too complicated.
Yep.
And when you talk about how do people inquire or contact you, the easier it is for people to do that and find out how to contact you, the better. So usually a sort of rule of thumb is to have a contact page or a link at the bottom of the homepage or something like that. But if you don't have anything like that where people can pretty much jump on the homepage from Google or wherever, if they can't find it easily of how to contact you, you're losing so much opportunity.
So I was told once, I don't know if it's true, but I was told once that the less clicks that you're making someone do, the better. Is that true?
That's pretty much that same sort of theory.
Yeah.
Like the longer the sort of the sales journey, the less chance someone's going to inquire. Because if they have to click 10 times to obviously send it like a inquiry form, that's a long time. That's a lot of clicks. So
you lose interest.
Yeah. So you want to make it as little clicks as possible, and as little and as easier it is to find your contactees as possible. So that's those two. And yeah, I guess how it looks. Again, it's back to as like simpler the better. Less crowded, less going on. Obviously, it differs industry to industry depending on how much information you want to put on that website. But with Shoebox, for example, our website is very people friendly. We really want to put a bit of a change, I think, to the whole accounting and bookkeeping world, where we're not numbers and words and all this sort of stuff. There's a lot of like photos, and it's very like aesthetic and very simple in terms of backgrounds. There's not a lot of going on. So
we're trying to get rid of the stereotype.
Definitely, yeah. So so with the website, definitely the simpler the better. And yeah, that's pretty much it with that one. And then obviously social profiles, so social media profiles, the sort of the basic ones, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, obviously TikTok and all these other ones are coming up at the moment. Again, it really depends on what the business is and whether you think you're going to benefit from being on some of those platforms. But definitely Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram are still top 3 for me. And
so you think Instagram now too, or does it depend on the type of
business? It definitely depends. Obviously with Instagram being a photo, video, reel specific platform that, with Facebook, obviously you can just post something with a caption. Whereas like Instagram, you have to have something attached to it, like a photo or a video or something like that. So it does benefit like product-based businesses more because obviously what they sell, they can make look pretty and very beautiful and aesthetic versus obviously with us, like accounting and bookkeeping, it's very hard to make that look sexy or beautiful as such. So finance industries and service-based industries is a lot harder with Instagram, but there's so many workarounds now and people don't really care a lot of these days. Like if they want your product or your service, they don't really care what it looks like on Instagram, to be honest. But those are some of the key things I would say for basic marketing. And then obviously after that, that's when you start getting into like paid stuff, when you start getting into like a lot of the branding, but basic marketing for setting up when you set up a business and you're trying to start off, those are those 3 things. So Google, a decent website, and social media platforms are 100% like no doubt, no question.
I guess and to be consistently active. So I guess really what you're saying is to be consistent.
Yeah. So with social media especially, obviously I've talked about using these platforms and signing up to these platforms and having business accounts with these platforms, but definitely it's the same thing with, it's a sort of like, you've got to imagine it, especially if you don't have an actual location and a store, you've got to imagine it like your online presence is your storefront, is your shop front. So if you're not active on your shop front, no one's going to know who you are or where you are. I always use the analogy or the comparison between, you've got 2 different businesses do the exact same thing. Someone's posted, last time they posted was 2020, 2-3 years ago, and the last other person posted last week or whatever, and they post regularly every week or every fortnight, whatever it is. If you're the lead or you're the inquiry or the person wanting their services, in my head anyway, you're going to go with the person most consistent and most active on their social media platforms, because especially right now with the last with the last 3 years or so, if they haven't posted since 2020 or something like that, you're thinking like, are they operational? Do they close down? If I message them, will they answer me back? If I call them, will they answer me? So yeah, you've definitely got to stay consistent with especially social media. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Leads us to another point where it's a Google thing as well, but it's a bit of Google website integrated, but it's what we call SEO and like online traffic. So SEO is a acronym for search engine optimization. And so what that really means is just filling your website and also your social media platforms, but definitely your website with wording, key phrases and content that is searchable on Google. So really, if you're offering services with us, obviously, bookkeeping, tax and accounting, things like that, we have obviously pages on the website that talk about those sort of services and payroll, whatever. we on those pages, we've got like dense copy and dense words and key phrases about what we think people would search for. So
would you recommend that for someone just starting out?
Definitely, yeah. So even if you're
outsourcing it,
I mean, if you're it's kind of, it goes hand in hand. I think if you're doing it yourself, these are things that you have to remind yourself to do, and you have to obviously like research it and learn a little bit more. But even if you're outsourcing the web design and getting someone else to do it for you, this is something that they will probably know already, but you've got to have it in your head knowing that this is what you want them to do as well. So, so and that stuff, we talk about it all the time at Shoebox. If you can't put all your eggs in one basket, if all of a sudden your marketing budget goes away and you've got no money to do Google ads, Facebook ads, all this sort of stuff, and you've got no budget, or the other platforms crash for some reason, you want to make sure that you can actually be discovered on other things. And coming up on Google searches, like high ranking on Google searches, is two reasons it's really good. One, because it doesn't really cost any money. You're not paying for ads constantly. But then two, people searching for these terms and these things are kind of pre-qualified. Like they're already interested in the services that you give. So maybe the sale will be a little bit easier because they're a little bit more genuine leads. But yeah, so there's a couple of basic marketing stuff. And then also with your social media, I covered that a little bit, but with your social media, what we like to do at Shoebox is really push, again, because we're a finance sort of industry, and also we're a service-based B2B. I like to push that our business owners, our franchise owners do a lot of behind-the-scenes content. Like I said before, with Instagram, it's really hard to make a service look sexy. So we stay away from that. We don't want to make accounting look good, but we want people to get to know our like franchise owners' businesses. And so posting behind the scenes content, different events, client catch-ups, things like that, like show people what's going on kind of in the business, I think is a really good way to develop trust online as well. And show people kind of your operating, your active.
And who you are maybe. And
who you are as well. That's a big part of it. At the end of the day, especially with finance, like people have got to trust you, have got to feel comfortable with you. So showing that online, showing your like business personality as such, is definitely like a key takeaway that I want people to sort of remember.
Yeah, and I guess if you're a builder or if you're a plumber or whatever those, having sort of photos of them on site as well, that would help, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. If you're a results type of business where you're like a builder, a carpenter, plumber, anything like that, definitely posting like on the job photos, but then also the finished product is like people love that stuff these days as well. All that interior design stuff, like I love it as well. I think I follow like 5-10 hashtags all about like interior design or something. So definitely showing the finished product is like, especially with that type of industry, amazing. Branding is another thing as well.
What if they don't really understand how to create a brand? When you very first start, you really don't know much. So how do you know how to even create a brand?
Yeah, I think what you've got to, the easiest way to think about it, especially being a bit of a startup, I think is your branding is what people perceive of your business and what they think of your business, not necessarily what they see or how they see it, but when they take it away, when they walk away from after engaging with you at some level, what do they remember? With us, we want to come across as like vibrant, young, sort of fresh and modern. And that's why, I talk about our website being a lot of people-focused, really nice colors and very easygoing. The content on social media is the same. It's not salesy. It's not in your face. It's a very, not casual, but very, I guess, very easy on the eyes and easy to understand. So I think you've got to really understand that branding is almost like a lifestyle thing for a business owner. Obviously, depending on how invested you are in that business, but if you're treating your business like your life, you've got to treat your business branding like your life as well.
And do you think you can ever change the branding? Or
definitely. Branding kind of has to change with the times, even if it's a very small thing to a big thing. It can be a huge rebrand through website, logo, colors, even the name sometimes. But
so I guess what you're saying then, if you're a small business and you feel like you've got it wrong, you've still got a chance to rebrand.
Definitely. Companies do rebranding all the time, like huge companies. I think Kmart did it recently, to be honest. If you drive past a Kmart, you'll see their logo on their stores are like different, and the colors a lot nicer as well. So it's a slight change, but it looks a lot modern, a lot more modern. So definitely, and I think that's who they're appealing to as well. They want to appeal to the families. They want to appeal to the younger people, because that's, you go to Kmart and you go in there wanting a candle, and you walk out there with like a whole living room.
Yeah, and I guess that's what you've got to think about when you're just starting up. Who do you want to appeal to?
Exactly. And that's, I guess, and that's where you kind of want to, I mean, your brand is going to change over the years, but you want to try and get it right earlier on. But then again, it's not a bad thing to rebrand either, because times change, your ideal customer or client changes. But yeah, you've just got to remember, how do you want people to remember your brand or your company or your business after they've had an interaction or heard about you? And it can be the smallest thing, from a car driving past to a social media post to just an interaction with you as the business owner, as a networking event.
I guess that goes for a one-man band business up into, people, a business that's employing staff.
For sure, yeah. And I think as the business owner, if you start employing staff and you take brand seriously like you should, I guess molding your staff almost a little bit and instilling brand into their work life is important as well, because they're kind of just like an attachment of the brand as well. Like, you want everyone to have a good experience with whatever staff member they engage with.
And to be honest, it's actually the most exciting part is when you start up a business, is thinking about all that. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like, what colours should we be? And like, how are we going to look? And
well, you go from like planning it all out on paper or on a computer, and then you publish your website, and then you can send people the link, and you even just creating a Facebook page, you're like, this is real. Like, and then you put it all to paper, and it's.
And you can do it quite cheaply, can't you? Like, you can use that Canva.
Canva is a really good for social media content.
Yeah.
Canva's, I think, the leading sort of like design program in the world. It's absolutely amazing. You can upload anything you want to it to create templates.
It is an exciting time.
They have templates of their own in there. So that's what I mean. You don't, starting out and doing it, sort of DIYing it yourself, social media marketing, it's not that expensive if you sort of, if you do it right, I guess.
Yeah, and you've got that passion still, and it is exciting.
Yeah, I want to put it to you now. I think I'm all marketing now. I hope that was kind of basic marketing stuff. I guess, like I said, it can get a lot more extreme and a lot more complicated. But as a business owner just starting out, or having a business, for the first couple of years, covering all those types of social media points, and
or even if you're sitting there now thinking, I actually do want to start a business, this is what you're doing.
Definitely, Some of those things that I said earlier on, like Google, social media, website, kind of the bread and butter and the foundations of marketing for a business. But we talked about it, obviously, when we talk about networking as well, and even branding comes into networking. I talked about with branding, it can even be an interaction with the business owner or a staff member or something like that at a networking event. So I really want to throw the torch over to you about relationship building. What
at
sort
networking
of
groups, or
I guess in general, to be honest.
Well, I might just start with networking groups.
We can start there.
Only because everyone is worried, and most people don't like or don't enjoy networking. It's definitely out of everyone's comfort zones, and I'm quite a, loud, I guess, person, bubbly.
Yeah.
And I don't really particularly like it. So you really got to sort of step outside of yourself to start enjoying it. But once you do that, you actually do enjoy it. And if you treat it like everyone is the same, everyone's been to their very first networking group and felt exactly the same way as you have, then that's how I think you succeed.
What are some, I guess, when you're at the networking event or the networking group, what are some sort of tips or do's and don'ts that you have?
I did it once. It was bad.
Learn from your mistakes, I guess.
Yeah. So I was super nervous, and everyone was really nice and friendly. And so I was chatting away to I think it was a tree lopper, and I said to him, I definitely need help with that, and I told him, I'll give you a call, and I didn't even have any trees to be lopped down. I don't even know why I said it, but I was just so nervous, and I just sort of come out, and then he obviously was excited. I'm thinking, oh, that's great. But then every time I saw him, every week after, he asked me about the service, like, when can I come out and quote you on the tree?
My
and I'm
apartment
thinking,
has a big tree.
I don't even have a tree. And that's the one thing. I think when you go to a networking group, I never did that again. I ended up telling him, I'm really sorry. I was just super nervous and sweating and I didn't know what else to say. And he laughed. So it was fine. But you can't do that. When you're going to a networking group, you really have to be everything you say you need to deliver on.
Yeah.
So you need to follow up
Can't
with.
really fake it too much, I guess.
No.
Yeah. Because it'll catch up with you.
It does. And honestly, it was only because I was just genuinely terrified. And it was just like, oh my God. And he was so nice. And then I just thought, oh yeah, I want to help him. And saying that, so when you, the do's of networking, really start listening to your friends and family of what they actually want and the services they need, because then when you're meeting these people at these business owners at the networking group, you actually can give genuine, what's it called, referrals.
Yeah, referrals. Yeah.
And that's great, because then you're helping them build their own business, their business as well. So I personally believe that don't go into a networking group to sell yourself. You're going into a networking group to give them information about yourself, but you need to be there really to show that you're wanting to help and build their business too in a genuine manner, because then that's when you're building that trust, and that's when they'll refer to you, and it goes both ways. But networking can be fun. It's just that first
couple of meetings,
where it's just, and then honestly, don't do what I did. Then you'll be fine.
Don't tell someone, oh yeah, I've got like a horse that he needs trimming. And he's like, I'll come over tomorrow. You're like, quickly got to buy a horse.
That's pretty much what I was thinking. What am I saying? Yeah. Stop talking. What are you still talking?
3 meetings later. Look, I have a plan. I have a plan.
Yeah. So don't do that.
With relationship building, just in general, I guess, did you have any things regarding that? Like, I guess even just like how to approach situations or how to treat people maybe?
Oh, look, to me, it's common sense. It's obviously not for lots of people, but for me it is. You just got to be yourself, be genuine, show an interest in someone, and show an interest in them professionally as well as personally. And that's how you're building. You need to build trust, and you're trying to build a rapport. You're trying to, and it's not a sales pitch. I think whenever someone goes into anything, even when you're going to see a client and all you're doing is selling, and you're not trying to get to know the person, that is a mistake. Get to know the person and the business that you're actually in front of before you start with your sales pitch.
Yeah, I totally agree. I guess when you're relationship building and building that trust, like there is a point where obviously, you've got to have an interest in them personally a little bit as well, because we're all people at the end of the day. And at these networking groups, it's, obviously they're all business owners as well. So definitely getting to know them on a personal level, obviously not too deeply, but
nice enough. It's just that sort of surface.
Because you want them to remember
level.
you.
Yeah, that's right.
You want them to remember the good experience they had with you.
Yeah.
Because...
And they don't want to be sold to. No one wants to be sold to.
Yeah. Yeah, and that applies everywhere though. Yeah. Like I talked about before, like we don't do salesy stuff online because I think people are smarter now. People know when they're being sold to. Mm-hmm. People know when you're selling to them. So it's the same everywhere, to be honest. And obviously in person it has it's much more direct. But I
get annoyed when I go to the petrol station and they're trying to give me like a bar. Do you want a bar or chocolate? No, if I wanted a bar, I'd get the bar. I don't really like to be sold to. I want to. Hi, how's your day? And that's pretty much it.
I don't try too hard though. I think it's like they ask a question, then you're like, no, like okay. You're like, okay, cool. But yeah, and definitely, I think especially when you want to talk about referrals and things like that for your business, people. I talked about this the other day with someone, but people when they're giving a referral, it's almost like their reputation is on the line as well.
That's so true.
Because if like you and me, you're a bookkeeper, I've got a marketing business or whatever. We're at a networking event. I need you say you're a bookkeeper. I've got mates that need bookkeeping. If I just refer them to you, they have a bad experience with you, then they're going to be like, mate, why did you refer them to me?
Which leads me to another point. When you're going to these networking groups, don't expect to have referrals straight away, because exactly the reason why you don't get referrals straight away is because they want to make sure you're actually good at or you know your product, or you know your knowledge, before they're going to start referring work to you. So it's not just a quick, joined a networking group, why haven't I got 10 referrals? It takes a while to build up that trust. 100%.
You mentioned right at the start of the episode, but client retention. I'm talking about, obviously now we just talked about a little bit of building relationships with clients and customers, and then just like, I guess, sort of in your, area. But when it comes to like client retention, how do you turn, and this is a very complex question, so I'm expecting a broad answer, but how do you turn a lead into a client? Is there any sort of hot tips there?
A lead into a client. So I think as soon as you get the lead, that's when you contact the client. So really fast. Because then you don't know if that person's actually sent out 5 different inquiries. So you want to be at the top of the list that's actually phoning first. That would be my number 1 tip. Then then you're speaking to the client. So you're asking the appropriate questions. So you got to know what you're going to ask them. So you have to know about your own business properly first and what they're actually going to be inquiring about. So then you can actually, you need like a little piece of paper and you're jotting down the quote. So whatever it is, whatever business that applies to, make sure that you're taking notes of what they're saying. So then you can provide that quote if that's what type of business you're offering. Some businesses, you can actually give them a firm price, and then that's when you're doing that sort of conversation talk. They're the two.
Yeah.
The two.
We have this saying, I guess, at Shoebox as well, like people before profit.
Yeah.
How do you think that works into it in terms of?
Well, you got to be interested in the people really that you're dealing with. So it's not about the dollars. It's not about how much can you make from that person. Of course, that's what we're all in it for, and it's ludicrous to think that we're not. But we really want to make sure that you are treating the person that you're dealing with on a personal level and a business level, professional level.
Yeah, I think that money first, money hungry type of mindset, it might get you a couple of clients or a little bit of work, but in the long run as well, you want to talk about like longevity for your business, because we're not here, no one starts a business to run it for a month. Like people start businesses because they want to do what they love and they want to do it for a long time. Yeah. So I think longevity is a big one as well. Yeah, definitely.
And you want them to refer people to you. So you want them to actually, feel like that you were important to them and they were important to you, and it's a two-way street.
Yeah. Yeah. With so we've gone from networking, relationship building, we've talked about how to turn like a lead into a client. When you go into that like first client meeting, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a client. It can be even if you're like meeting up with someone we talked about lawnmowers before, and like if you're going to quote someone on site to do a lawn mowing job or a pressure washing or a painting job, whatever that is. What's your advice, I guess, for people going to their very first sort of meeting?
Well, everyone's terrified of their very first meeting, no matter what you're doing, but be punctual. Or make sure you're on time. Everyone hates it if you're running late. If you are running late, then you should always either phone them or text them to let them know. That really does set the seed. So being punctual, I would highly recommend. And then you're starting the actual meeting or whatever you're doing off on a good grounding.
Yeah.
After that, you really do need to get to know. You need to ask questions, and don't do a lot of talking about yourself. You're finding out about them. You're finding out about their business, what they do, and what they need from you.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to tell them what you can do for them.
Yep.
You already know what you can do for them.
Yep.
You want to hear what they need.
Yeah. And then you can start thinking in the background. Well, okay, so now I can tell them this is what I can do for you based on what you've told me.
Awesome.
Instead of just going in there and how people do
yapping,
talking.
Just yap. And they're like, I need my lawn. Okay, so what I can do? Like, no, I don't need that. But what I can do, and you're like, why am I even talking? Like, I might as well just. I could have just did this online. Like,
I think people have lost the skill of listening. So
it's an art.
It is, and you've got to listen to what they're really saying that they want. You can change their mind down the track and say, you actually need your hedges cut as well, but you're not going in there with that pitch because that's not what they're wanting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you can upsell them later down the track, but trying to get all the dollars out of them straight away, it's probably not the best approach.
No, people don't like to feel like they're, being upsold to.
Because they'll just see right through that and think he just wants the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, that's pretty much all the things I want to talk about, but I think we got through a good amount. Talked a lot about marketing, social media, obviously like the basic sort of marketing tools to do. We talked about building relationships, client retention, talked about leads and clients, and also that first meeting. So anything else you want to add?
No, probably just when you are meeting with that first person, and if it's going to be a long-term relationship, make notes about that person as well. So you're always remembering them. You know how sometimes when you walk away from something, and that's even in a networking group too, you forget because you've been nervous about it.
Oh, yeah, it's blank.
Yeah. Just make sure you sort of jot yourself some key memory points of who you need to remember too, because it's important. It really is, honestly, building a business is all about communication. If you know a client, if it's going to be a continual client, if you know that client only likes to be, doesn't like phone calls and only likes texts, that's how you communicate with the client. But communication is the key, which I probably should have really added. When you have those missed phone calls from clients, make sure that you return them, or an email. Emails is exactly the same. Even if you're just saying, look, I haven't got to that quite yet. I've booked you in for next week to do that. Just let them know. Communication is the number one key.
Everyone hear that?
Yeah.
Number one rule of thumb: communicate.
Yeah, and that actually is in marriages too. Just saying.
I'll let you know when I get there. Yeah. Well, thank you very much again for joining me, Yvette. I thought we got through a good amount of stuff here. So hopefully people took some little nugget away.
Yeah, I hope so.
But yeah, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for listening, everyone else.
Thanks. Bye.